this rocking and rolling. Okay,
Right.
so welcome everybody. This is Allie Jackson here with Centennial Escrow in northern San Diego County. I want to thank you all for joining Marketing Monday. Today we have a very special guest speaker. Tristan Ahumada is coming here to talk about the 4 things to focus on to grow in 2024. And I'm sure a lot of you who are on this call today know all about Tristan, and that's why you jumped on. But if you didn't, he literally wrote the book on prospecting. So I want you to hear a little bit about what he has to say with that. I'm sure that's going to be in the 4 things that he will talk about. Tristan also created Lab Coat Agents, a huge group on Facebook. In fact, when I shifted into working in real estate, a good agent friend of mine said the first thing you need to do is join the Facebook group Lab Coat Agents. And then you're going to kind of get to know the lingo and get great coaching tips and hear the questions and challenges that everyone out there is facing. So that was some very good advice that I received. Tristan is also CMO of Success Magazine, has a company, A Brilliant Tribe. And what else am I missing here, Tristan? Oh, group lead, team lead, incredible coach. And I had the pleasure of meeting Tristan at a think tank, and we just started chatting, and I asked him if he would be open to coming on and being a Marketing Monday guest, and he said yes. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this on over to Tristan.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me over. And then as people jump in, I'm gonna let them in too if I see them there. All right, Julia, nice to see you on camera. Rebecca, I know you were on and Drive and Be Safe. Joyce, Ethel, Olga, Carol, Brian, Barbara, Shapar, Jenny, and I know Maria just jumped in. And April and Allie, thanks for including me into this. Let's talk about it. The very first thing that I want to start with is something you often hear, but I want to break it down a little bit more. And that's I started in the same way in my book, and that's really your mind. I don't know that we talk about it enough because a lot of us are told to come in and prospect, calling past clients, Sphere, go on social, do your thing, connect with people deeper, do open houses, door knock if you still do that. All of these actions that if we do them deeply and if we do a lot of it, they actually work. They work and they all work differently. But one thing that they forget to tell you is that they don't all work the same for everyone. And that's because not everyone is working with an optimal mindset. And we're all at different places. We're having challenges, and a lot of us don't know how to deal with those challenges. A lot of us don't know how to deal with setbacks. And so I want to start off with reminding you that we all have this self-talk that's happening. And that self-talk can sometimes sound like, that was stupid. Oh, why do you keep on doing that? Why why did that person get the listing? That person? Conversations that happen continually in your mind that gravitate more on the negative aspect of life. And they grab hold, and then it becomes a spiral where it makes you the victim. And that self-talk, when you're not careful, it becomes affirmations. It becomes how you speak to yourself continually. It becomes the truth. And so what I want to start with is I want to remind you that what you think of consistently and how you view things is really how you operate on a daily basis. It's really how you're looking at the world. And your current state right now or later determines how you're going to proceed. Do you see an opportunity? Or do you see a problem or a challenge that's just you can't get over? Do you see somebody succeeding and saying, man, I'm going to reach out to that person. I wonder how they did that because that's inspiring. Or do you see something that someone did that you have a lot of envy for and you just can't get over that jealousy? And that's a real challenge that hits at the core of being human because we all go through it. I've gone through it. And that only comes out through reflection, saying, hey, you know what? I do have a challenge with this. And a great book that touches on it that I always bring up is the book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. She did research on this for many years. And in fact, Atomic Habits, the book by James Clear, he brings it up in there as well. That book by Carol Dweck is brought up a lot because she wrote the research on mindset. And what you find is she breaks it down into two forms, two categories. One is fixed mindset. Look, I'm just the way I am. I can't help it. This just is what it is, right? And the other one, which is, oh, you know, I believe I can do better. If I apply myself, learn along the way. It's going to take time, but I am going to get better. I progress, I grow. And the truth is, most of us are a combination of both of those things. Some of us lean more towards the growth mindset. Some of us lean more towards the fixed mindset. What I want you to do is tilt the scale and start becoming more aware of those moments so that you can lean towards the growth mindset. And that only comes through reflection. It only comes to identifying those moments when you're like, but them? Why is this happening to me? Those moments. I need you to stop and start reflecting and saying, I guess that those thoughts are affecting the way I talk to people. They're going to be the difference between you talking to somebody, whether it's a past client, Sphere, online lead, because this is the number one thing I hear with online leads. They suck. And it's a challenge because first you have to know the stats. Online leads, Google PPC, Google pay-per-click, Facebook lead ads, Instagram lead ads. It's a 1% conversion about, right? So know that 1 out of 100 will convert, 1 out of 100. So when you have that stat, you're like, I understand. I'm just going for that one. And now the conversations change because everyone else, you're trying to build relationships. So if I'm talking to April and I'm calling her and she says, oh, I'm just looking. In my head, I'm like, yeah, of course she's just looking. What did I expect? Instead of now hanging up and saying, well, April, yeah, call me when you're ready. Hang up. Online leads suck. I've already prepared for that. So I'm like, yeah, April, you know what? I'm always just looking. In fact, I just sent a property to my wife on the beach for like 30 million. Probably not going to buy it anytime soon, but I like looking. So I'm just browsing. So April, I don't want to spam you. Are you looking to be closer to the beach or up on the hills? And now the conversation changes because I just want to build a relationship. And at the core of everything that we do, it's relationships. That really is it. How great at you, how great are you at building relationships and connecting with people? And that all is going to come down to how do you operate internally? Because I can feel if you want to help me, I can feel if you're sincere. I can feel if I actually want to work with you or not. Barbara Corcoran told me this when I interviewed her. She said, Tristan, the way I choose my friends and business partners, she said, is right after I have lunch, I I relax and I feel and I'm like, did I just feel great about this lunch with this person? Or the whole time was I waiting for it to be over?
Great point. Wow.
Yeah. And she says, that's how I choose my friends and business partners. If I know I want to have lunch with this person again, then chances are pretty high we're going to work together if the opportunity arises. But the same thing is happening with you. When people look at you calling them on the phone, they're going to look down and be like, oh, I don't have time for that. Right?
Yeah.
Or they're going to look down and be like, you know what? Every time I talk to this person, or most of the time, it's valuable. They're always bringing something to my life. And people won't care about you until they know that you care enough about them. So it all goes back to, how do you operate on a daily basis? What are you doing to take care of your mind, to take care of yourself, so that you show up better for other people? And the truth is, a lot of us are not taking care of ourselves internally. We're just not. We wake up, we jump on the phone, and there's nothing wrong with the phone. There's nothing wrong with going on social, which we'll talk about. What's wrong is that the way you operate with everything that you are coming across, there's almost like no intent behind it. It's very reactive. So when I go on social, I don't just react to everything that's happening. I have an actual intent. It's business. It's my CRM. I'm actually doing research most of the time on there. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, everything I turn on, I'm like, wait a second. Why did I just like that one? Which we'll get into. Now, when you're looking at this and saying, well, what can I do to be more intentful in my days and my evenings and how I progress through the day? Here's where you have to slow down, and you have to look at the core, what are the most important things for us as humans? And that's where you have to say, well, typically there are four, and that's, you have to take care of your mind consistently. What are you feeding it daily? Because a lot of us don't feed it enough, learning, right? That we have the same thoughts we had last week, last month, last year, because we're not adding anything new to it. You know, we have up to 80,000 thoughts a day, and then we have to filter through them with a lot of different priorities in there. But the ones that rise to the top, the ones that go through our filters, are the ones that are the most important to us according to our brain. And sometimes they show up because they're repeatedly there. So what are you repeatedly showing to your mind? And that's the reticular activating system, the RAS, right? It filters through everything, what you pay attention to. So when you look at it, if you decide that you actively want to feed your mind great things, what do those look like? Podcasts, webinars. This is great. I'm glad you're here. Books on audio. What? Consistently. It just can't be once a week. It's like, oh, here, I got my 10 minutes in. And there's a difference between actively listening versus just passively listening. I need you to go ahead.
I have a question. How do
Sure.
you implement this podcast, webinars, books? Like, I'm pretty sure you have a very busy schedule. How
Mhm.
do you find time for all of that? Like, can you tell more about your daily schedule, what it looks like?
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a great PDF Google Doc that I'll share with you towards the end.
Oh, wow.
For what a good schedule would look like for an agent, single agent. I have one for a team though, but I couldn't find it yesterday. I was looking for it. But typically, Julia, in the mornings when things are quieter and in the evenings, you
Mhm,
want to have some type of a routine that's quick, something that's repeatable. Um,
mhm,
and it starts with something simple. I'll tell you my evening one because I think evening is the most important,
mhm,
uh, because it prepares the brain to let go of the day. So in the middle of the night, you don't have these anxious thoughts and you're not waking up. It's like, oh my gosh, no, I need you to let go. The evening one starts with one simple thing and then propels everything else for me. For me, it's calling my mom.
mhm.
I literally, I literally grab the phone. I'm like, hey Siri, call my mom. Calls her, 10, 20 seconds. If I don't call her, my mom's freaking out like in the middle of the night. She's like, you didn't call me. But that, but that sets other things in motion.
Mhm,
And that for me is like, for me, I know, okay, it's evening. I'm setting this in, call my mom. Now I can do the other routines, which are, and it's in the book too, but it's PREPARE, which is prepare. I'm preparing, prepare. And that means I'm going through and I'm planning for tomorrow. That means I'm looking through. I write everything down. So like right here, right? I've broken it down. I
Oh, wow.
broke it down into 3 sections. So I'm looking through and I'm like, okay, am I ready for tomorrow? What do I have? What do I need to show? What's my priority for tomorrow? And then I
Mhm.
review today. That's R. I'm reviewing and I'm like, what happened today? Did I get everything done? What needs to be done tomorrow? What about any voicemails? Any texts I missed? Any emails? So review. Review is a catch-all. And then E is exercise. That means I need state. Remember, my current state is going to allow me to look at things differently, right? If I feel like shit, everything else will look like shit to me. And that's the truth.
You mirror.
So,
Yeah.
so I call up my son and I'm like, okay, hey son. And my son, he's 12. So calling means I yell at his room. I said, Anson, we're doing push-ups. And so we do 40. Well, I do 40 push-ups. He does 10. Right? And then that just gets us, it's just like a quick hit, right? So that's PRE. And then P is practice gratitude. That means I have this little quick process where I go through and I'm like, what happened today where I actually, who made me smile today? And who have I been wanting to reach out to say thank you, whether it's by text, message, video, written card, whatever. And when I get there, I usually it's somebody who's made my life easier in some way. And it can be repeatedly the same person, but I try to find somebody else. For me, I always gravitate to because I'm always home. So it's like usually my wife or my kids, right? So I make sure to reach out to them and text them or write them a card. Or if it's somebody somewhere else, maybe a quick video message, staff member, usually a text and you catch people by surprise. But gratitude is important. It shifts everything, right?
Yeah.
And then evening affirmations, that's A. Affirmations, just you're speaking truths to yourself. Yesterday I had a more difficult day, and under the affirmations, because I write them all down. And the one I stuck with was I let go of things that hurt me. I was hurting. I'm just human. Emotionally, I wasn't doing too well towards the evening. And that's what I did in the evening. And then R is the hardest one for me, which is reflecting. I look back and I say, what could I have done better today? What in an interaction with a human or a situation where I was texting, emailing. And that one's always tough because I look back and I say, that's the moment I could have done something differently, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And then last one is embrace. I embrace the night. That means I'm going to shut off. It's time. Because if I don't allow myself to accept the evening into what's happening, it's just going to keep going. And what I've learned over the last few years, and you'll hear this a lot, but you're never going to finish ever. You're never going to finish. It never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends. So you've got to shut off for your health. And that's the evening routine. I would say that's really helped me process better and be more present and just reflect back on self-talk, mindset. And I put in the morning one, Julie and everybody else, Ethel, I see you on camera. Hey. The morning one allows me to just jump in and listen in. It all started, Julia, when I was trying to figure out for me when I was fully in real estate as a real estate agent, single agent, I was trying to figure out when to read, when to learn. And for me, it would happen in spurts. As I got more leverage and started building out a team and businesses, then it became easier, right? But at the beginning, I found that while I was running in the mornings, or for me, it was in the middle of the day. That's when I was exercising the most. I would just plug in a podcast and listen to it at 1.5 times speed and then just go or I would listen to a book. right? And I couldn't take notes. You can't do much as you're running, right? You got to just grab it when you can. And in the evenings, on I think it was Friday evenings and Sunday evenings, I would just read more and take notes. And that's how it started, right? Now it's a little different, right? So I do my best to read as often as possible in between or listen. And I read a shit ton now, but it's different, right? As you delegate and grow, you're allowed to do more and more. For now, put it in where you can. That's really how you can start reflecting back and saying, what can I improve on internally? Because how I show up with people is is really how other people perceive me, and that becomes their reality, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at self, it's the mind, it's emotions, spiritually, if that fits for you. And spiritually can be different. It doesn't have to be religious, right? It can be meditation, it can go in deeper. And then what are you doing to take care of your health? What are you actually doing to take care of your health? Like physically, and what are you eating? And I can tell you from experience and going back and forth and being late by 15, 20, 30 minutes to different meetings because I'm showing. McDonald's is an amazing option that's healthy. No, it's not. It's terrible. But that's what I would go to when I'm in a rush. It's at every corner. And Starbucks, come on. Starbucks, every sugary drink possible.
Yeah.
So it builds on you. And we have to be more conscious of those four things. That's self, right? When we're talking about self, that's a priority. And then in the middle, which is family itself, family looks different. It can be, I know people that consider for them family are their pets or their friends,
Yeah.
spouse, siblings, children, parents. It doesn't matter. You've got to have time for that somewhere, right? And it doesn't have to be like, my best example is when you work out, you don't work out 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
You typically work out 45 minutes, maybe an hour in a day. And if you're a pro, maybe 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with family. You don't have to be with them all the time. It doesn't work that way. It's more like harmony. There's no balance. It doesn't equate, the same time doesn't equate to the same time over here. So you fit everything in a week. And you're like, how did this week look? Right? That's how you look at it with family. And then business. What does that look like for you, business wise? And I don't think it's clear for a lot of you because you go in and you're like, well, that person's doing that. I think I need to do that. Or, damn, that person did that. How did he? I'm going to send postcards from now on. And then, and then we don't think, well, what's my strength? So I want you to start with what I'm sharing you next with is what's your strength? When you look at where, if you've been in the business for a little bit, then look the last year, the last 2 years, where did I get most of my business from? If you're brand new to the business, then you look at your skill set. And I have both examples. When I started in real estate, I came from a telemarketing background. So I was great on the phones. I had worked on the phones for years. That's all I did. I sold Windows, ink cartridges, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so when I jumped into real estate, they said, the way real estate works, they said you have to door knock and you have to cold call and you have to have open houses. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I door knocked and I cold called and I did amazing, but I didn't know why I was doing amazing, right? And that's because it was part of my skill set. Now, if I was starting all over, I'm like, well, what's my new skill set? It's social. For me, it's social media. So I'd start with social now. I'd be like, man, I could attract so many. The name of the game now is attraction. How many people can you attract to do business with you by putting out the least amount of things that are high quality? And it's social media. I mean, hands down, social media. And it's free practically, right?
It is.
So it's all about building relationships. Again, it comes down to building relationships. So when I'm looking at it, I'm saying, well, what's my strength? And I'm going to ask everyone here, what's your strength? Are you great at connecting with people in person? Like there are a few agents on my team that connect with people in person, like amazing. But over the phone, they're terrible, right? Like really bad. So I'm like, don't call anybody, just meet them in person. And if you know them, just say or text them and be like, hey, you want to meet for coffee? You want to meet for lunch? Right? Or instead go to open houses. Since you're great with people, do open houses. And I think the thing that challenges people is that they try it once, twice,
Doesn't work.
maybe 4 or 5 times. And it's like, yeah, that's not for me. I didn't do that well. I'm like, well, you didn't do a big enough sample size. It's not even close. Like when I started the very first day, when I got my license and I was able to do things, I went out to door knock that first day for 6 hours with a suit, tie, and dress shoes. The next day, I was like, I am not going with dress shoes in the summer in LA. Uh, I'm just going to wear different clothes. And so I kept on doing it for hours and hours every day. 3 months later, I had 3 closed transactions on the same day.
Wow.
But it takes a lot of work. I didn't know what I was doing. And so when you look at open houses, you're like, maybe I'm not looking at open houses the right way. I just interviewed one agent in Palm Springs. He did 100 open houses in 100 days.
Wow.
And surprise, it worked.
Awesome. That's a hustler right there.
Yeah, well, I think the mindset shift, right? How are
Yeah.
you doing internally to be able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish? Because it takes a lot of hard work, consistency, and showing up with the right set of tools inside. And a lot of us don't, a lot of us can't do that consistently. So whatever you decide to do with this business, say, is it my strength? And can I go all in, like all in every day? The
Mhm.
thing that people, the thing that people shy away from because there's a negative connotation attached to it because it's done incorrectly, and that's the hustle culture. But unfortunately, it does take a lot of work to get to where you want to get to, like actual work.
Yeah.
And either that or a whole bunch of money and a bunch of work, both. So the way that it worked with me, and then I'll share with you what I need you to do, all of you, is when I first started, I went door knocking because I didn't have money, and I went door knocking every day for minimum 4 hours a day, and it was like that for a whole year. So then I broke it down after. I'm like, oh, I know what I can do. I know how many homes I've listed. Every 13, every hour I get 13 people home in a regular track, right? And out of those 13 people, the more I talk to, it looks like about 122 people I talk to, one of them wants to list or buy. Okay, so now I'm creating a process and a system based on my area, right? In the price point that I'm door knocking. And now I could start expanding from there and saying, does this work in a luxury area? Does this work in townhomes and condos? Who lives there? Is it an older generation that now wants to downsize? Or is it a younger generation that needs to buy a bigger home because their family is growing? So all these factors come into play the better you get at it. And so I went all in, and then the market tanked and it wasn't working anymore. Expires weren't working for me for sale by owners. Nothing was working. And so I shifted to online. And then I discovered Craigslist. And Craigslist did amazing for me. When I posted maybe like 5 posts on Craigslist, an inquiry. It was like they want to see property. And I'm like, wow. So what I did is I learned from the time I was door knocking. I'm like, if it's working for an hour, I need to do multiple hours. So Craigslist, I said, how many posts can I do in an hour without getting banned? So I tried, I think, 120 posts in an hour on Craigslist, and I got banned. But I learned, I'm like, okay, I need multiple accounts and I can only post this many times per hour. But I started growing my team. And then from there, I started getting leads. I'm like, okay, I need a website. I need to delegate. I need leverage, all free because Craigslist was free. But I went all in. And then when Realtor.com called me and said, hey, we have this product based on zip codes and it costs this much. And I'm like, that sounds like Craigslist, but it's for Realtor.com. And it doesn't cost that much because they didn't know what they had and it was brand new. So I took the whole county. I went all in. And that changed my business. But I already had the processes to succeed for online leads because I was doing Craigslist. So again, strength. They came through, I converted, I built my team more. I did so well that Realtor.com said, we don't know anybody in the whole nation that's doing this. Can you come into our office to figure out what you're doing so we can tell other agents how to succeed with our product?
Wow.
And so I did. And then they had me speak around the nation. And then I built Lab Code Agents. But it was all around my strength. Right.
Yep.
So go ahead, shoot, Julia.
So when you were a single agent, just a solo agent going door knocking, you understand like your 1 hour worth, whatever, like $25. And then you're at the point where you understand you can make $200 per hour, $500 per hour. So, and you start like hiring people. Can you tell me like when is that shift happening when you understand that your hour costs so much more? And like,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's different for everyone because we're all at different price points, but I think all of you are in San Diego or no?
San Diego.
Yeah. All right. So
A
your price
lot, a big concentration, but a few folks from other areas.
Okay. So let's just assume it's around that area. Good price point. I'm in LA, Ventura County, and so similar price points. So I would say if you're consistently closing 2 transactions in a month, I would look to, if you don't already have a transaction coordinator, getting a transaction coordinator first. And then next is getting either a part-time admin or a full-time admin. That way it alleviates you to be able to focus on what you're great at. I'm not great at paperwork, and it was just slowing me down. My files were everywhere. And I don't want to have problems with my clients in the future, right? So TC first, admin next. And as I started gaining momentum there, I was like, wait, I can do more business, right?
Yeah.
So I was at about 25 transactions, 25 transactions in a year when I was like, I think I need a full-time admin, right?
Yeah.
And then once I put that in place, I got to 50 transactions in a year as a single agent. And then I was like, okay, this is becoming too much. I don't have a life. Like I have no life, just real estate, right? My wife was in the car with me showing property at night and the day. It was everywhere. And then I was like, I think I might have enough business to bring somebody else in on this. And I'll take a cut to gain my life back now that I have a system. So I got somebody to help me. And then that worked really well. And I was like, okay, I'll bring somebody else in slowly. And Julia and everyone else, one of the scariest things you'll do is hire someone.
Yes.
That's probably the scariest thing you're ever. And I think it's okay that you screw it all up. The biggest thing you're going to learn is as you continue to grow, your best ability, besides taking care of yourself internally, is the ability to adapt quickly. And you won't be able to learn that until you put yourself in situations that are going to challenge you. And a lot of us don't put ourselves in those situations because we're just too uncomfortable. But I can tell you, I'd rather be uncomfortable door knocking for 6 hours and figuring shit out on the go than sitting at home wondering what I'm going to do next. And so that shifts to now that we talked about mindset and the opportunities that you have and strengths, I think you really need to look at social media differently and say this needs to be an extension of how I prospect. this needs to be an extension of my CRM. I don't care where you go, if it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, does not matter to me, TikTok. They all have challenges if you look at it with the lens of, wow, they're trying to get us, right? Oh, it's such a distraction. I think everything is a distraction if you think about it. It just all depends on your intent. How are you using it? How are you going in and using it? And this is how I do it. So pay attention on this one. I have a process so one of the opportunities that I got in creating lab coats and then growing was Facebook. I got to work with Facebook and Instagram. I consulted them for 4 years. And my contract with them ended in 2020 through COVID. And in that process, I created a process for them that they could teach to different business verticals. And that was, I figured out a way through using Facebook and Instagram to connect with people deeper so that it would hack the algorithm for your favor. And I call that LCM. And if you've listened to me before, you know LCM. It's in the book. It's like, comment, message. And I'll take you through the process. It's really easy. And this is probably why they liked it, because it was so easy. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to take you through process. So this works on Facebook. It works on Instagram. It works on LinkedIn. And it works a little bit on TikTok now that they've opened up their direct messaging more. It works on most social platforms and X as well. So I'm scrolling through, popped it open. I'm looking for somebody that I know that I'm following that is my friend or follows me back. This is a Facebook group, so I'm not going to comment there. That's an ad. They know I love Ninja Turtles. So I'm just going to ignore that one, even though I want to buy one, especially Leonardo. But I got Cody. So Cody's my friend. So right now I'm going to read it. I'm going to be like, let's see what it says. It says, one of my favorite do-it-yourself projects so far. Emery wanted a custom closet, and we've been talking about it for months. Finally had the time after New to do it. She now has custom spaces. Did he do this? Now I'm wondering, or did he order it done? Let me heart it, like, right? I'm going to like it.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to comment. And I'm going to say, dude, love the way it turned out. Comment. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to hover over his name and I'm going to message him and be like, bro, did you build out the cabinets? I'm going to just put like that. All right. And I'm going to keep on doing that. Go to the next one, right? Mike, I would do the same thing. I'd like it. I'd comment. I'd message. Same thing. Like, comment, message. Again, people know I love Ninja Turtles, so I guess it's targeting me with Ninja Turtles. This is crazy. And then I don't do the groups. I do have a separate time. Well, I guess we're doing a webinar later today, so I won't do that one. And then I'd keep on going. So stop. That's the like, comment, message part. It does multiple things. Here's why it's important for you in the way you operate. Number one is it makes the people you're doing it to feel like they want to feel for posting psychologically. We go on social and we post things because we want other people to like it. We want other people to comment. We want to feel significant. And that's part of just being human. So now psychologically, you're doing exactly what they would hope would have happened. But you're taking it to the next step. You're messaging them. Who the hell messages people? Nobody.
Yeah.
Like, comment, message. And you do this routinely. But let's say, Julia, if you pop up on my feed every day, I'm not going to message you every day, right?
Yeah.
and I'm going to space it out. And Ethel, if I see you on there, I'm not going to ask you for business. I'm going to be like, hey, I saw you eating spaghetti. Amazing. Do you want to buy a house? Right?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
That's funny.
People aren't stupid, because as soon as you bring up real estate, the first thing they're going to think is, that's why they commented on my post.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. So you're never going to bring it up, ever.
Mhm.
We live in a social media world where people can check your profile to see what you're doing for a living,
Mhm.
right? So it's a whole different world. You don't need to tell them anymore. People need to be attracted to you by what you do, how you make them feel. And you're making them feel amazing. That's number one. Number two, when you message them, they're going to look at your profile and be like, what's Tristan up to? And if I'm doing a good job on my social, they're going to be like, oh, cool. He's doing good. He's going out. He's commenting, all this stuff. But more importantly, this is why Facebook loved it. I just hacked the algorithm. They checked my profile out. It told the algorithm that they're interested in my stuff. That means for the next 30 minutes to a few hours, I'm going to dominate their feed. I'm going to keep on popping up. And then they'll be like, wow, they're everywhere. And that's what we don't do enough of. People are like, well, why? So I do social media, it just doesn't work for me. I'm like, you're not doing it right. You're not going deep enough. Again, if you're going to choose social media to do this with, it's going to look abnormal. Like, this is a big portion of my day. It works for me because I don't dabble in things. I don't go on it and do it for 10 minutes. When I do something, I do it, it looks weird. I do it for a whole part of the day. I do it for weeks. I do it for months, and I stick to it for years. Social media, right? That's just the engagement part. We won't even talk about the content part. I want to switch over now to past clients. And
And
you're,
Tristan, before you jump into that, there was a question here about what are you putting on social media that
oh,
attracts?
got
And
it.
so I think that takes it even beyond attracting, because you're interacting. You're
Yeah.
you're showing genuine, authentic interest on something that matters to your social media friend, and that's drawing them to you to look at your profile. So it's relational.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think what I did is I reverse engineered how to attract people to me based on them connecting me with me first, because I'm making them feel great, right? And I'm primarily focused on the people that I follow and follow me back to start. And what we try to do the other way, and there's no wrong way of doing it, right? But I want to build relationships. The other way is I put out a whole bunch of stuff, and then when somebody comments and likes it, I'm like, oh, cool, right? I'd rather do it the other way. There's a lot more intent behind it, and it becomes more powerful because I'm interested in building relationships. That becomes the key to your business when you do this right. But you brought up a great point. Let me put this on here since we didn't touch on it much. If you want to build great content consistently, I put up the calendar there for you so you can grab it. That's how to create content on a daily basis. They're just prompts you can read. So grab that and save it. But if I'm looking at past clients now as this next step and saying, well, what's the opportunity with past clients or database? Because I know some people don't have a lot of past clients, but we all have a database. We all have a phone. This is your database on here. If I look on here and I see the amount of contacts I have, last time I checked, they were a little around 4,000. I know some people have way more than that on the phone. Some people have less. But the point is, you're going to need a plan. Like, what's the plan when it comes down to this database of yours? And I think it starts with simplicity, and that's categorizing them, deciding who people are in your CRM, because not everybody is equal in your CRM, and we treat them like they are. Like, I'll give you an example. Allie, if I know you're in my CRM, oh, she fell off. April, if I know you're in my CRM and I know that you're very well connected, then I'm going to make a bigger effort to connect with you deeper. Because if I can get closer to you, build a stronger relationship with you, chances are you're going to open up and connect me to other people. In the same way, if I know that I just met somebody and they're like new to the area, they don't have a lot of connections, but they want to work with me and I want to work with them, I'm going to connect with them, but not the same way I'm going to treat April. And this is your business. You can't be treating everyone equal unless you want to go nowhere. This is where you have to be selfish with your time and your approach. So what we do is we categorize our whole database. We make sure that if they're in the past client route categorization, we categorize them as A, B, C, and D. We're like, A, have they referred more than one client to us? B, have we asked them at any point in time if they would refer business to us and they said yes? C, I know they refer people to us. April, I don't think I've ever asked you if you'd refer anybody to me, but you probably would, right? So that's a C, right? And D, they never refer anybody, either because I screwed up on the transaction or just because they don't like me. And I've had plenty of those. So we all have, if you've been in the business for a while. And that's how we start categorizing. Same way with people that we talk to. If I'm calling an online lead, like we do a prospecting live call every Thursday at 3, and you've heard some of the conversations I'm having. There are some people that are never going to buy, but we put them into a drip, right? The thing that I want you to do with this past clients database, I want you to categorize them. I want you to identify where they're going to belong. Are they going to belong where you're just nurturing them with email drips, home search? Or are you also going to add them to the other extent of this, meaning you're going to invite them to your yearly events, right? You're going to call them quarterly. You may even do a handwritten note because they're an A or a B. With my A clients, those past clients in Sphere, we put them in something called Client Giant, and they get a gift quarterly. And there's a whole story on that too. One of our clients, so we're in a similar price point, but this specific past client of mine bought a multi-million dollar home from us. And so again, we don't treat everyone equally in our database, and it's okay. This particular client, we put on the highest monthly cost on Client Giant. And I get a call from the husband saying, "Hey man, thank you so much. We chose the comedy by, I forget his first name. There's a comedian, something Coy. Joe, is it Joe Coy? Something like that. Anyway, he was out in LA. This happened recently. And he's like, I'm going to take my wife to this. I've always wanted to go to a comedy show and I've never been to one. We're having to pick the biggest one. Thank you for the tickets. So part of Client Giant, they pick tickets for events and massages if you pick the highest one. So then the wife texts me and she says, "Thanks, we're going on our way to the event." And I thought, that's cool, right? Then they're done. On the way back, the husband calls me and they're emotional. Like, "Tristan, nobody's ever done this for us. It's really weird. We haven't gone on a date like this." And they got emotional on me. And I'm like, "Guys, I didn't do this so you guys could cry on the phone with me. This is crazy." Um, that's the impact I'm going for. When people know that you care, they open up and they start caring about you. And we don't do that enough because we're not focused on the relationship aspect of this. And sometimes we're focused on the people that don't care about us. It's like, why are you focusing on them? the same amount of energy you're putting on them that you're putting on the people that you should be caring about and focusing on? That's the key. It comes down to those relationships. So I need you to categorize, please. Stop just randomly attacking your CRM, which does nothing for you. Zero. Number four, and I didn't realize that I only had 4 minutes left for number four. So, number four is I need you to start building out a community. And the word community is generalized, but what I'm thinking of when it comes to you is I'm thinking we all live in a community, whether we're renting or we own. And the way that I started my first community for business was door knocking. I created a newsletter. And at the time, it was if I could go back, I wish I would have created an email newsletter at that time, but I didn't. It was I'd give you a handwritten newsletter. What I want you to do is decide what type of a community you want to build. And there's a lot of opportunities here. There's the newsletter route, which is massive, a massive opportunity. As you start building a community online through newsletters, whether it's your community or a larger community of everyone in your database, how often are you showing up? Weekly, monthly? What type of content are you providing? This is a community that comes back to you. The other one is a Facebook group. I know a lot of agents that have Facebook groups for specific communities. Whether it's let's pick one. Allie, what area do you live in? Like town that you, where do you live?
I live in Oceanside and my office is in Carlsbad. So I focus quite a bit on North County. I
North
have
County.
I have my Hot Properties North County Facebook group.
I like that.
Also have an Oceanside Realtor Facebook group. So I have a couple going there, and I am a member of several of my clients' Facebook groups so that I
Oh,
can monitor and contribute ideas and comment and engage.
I like that. So let's go with one of your groups. I would say if you already have one, I would start looking at what are the other opportunities that I have in building this group, meaning should I start a newsletter? How can I engage with people more? Do I need to change up moderators? Am I reaching out to the best members here and engaging with them weekly, saying thank you? Do I have a merch store? Should I start a podcast? Right? There's a lot you can do here, and it's all virtual. But I think in building a community, it no longer is just where you live and door knocking. It has transcended that, and that's what I wanted to really make clear. It's like you right now, the world that you live in makes it so much easier for us to succeed. We just have to focus on our strengths. And whatever your strength is, remember that it comes down to relationships, right? And
Well, and I love what you were saying with relationships because I've been following you on social, and something that really resonated. You touched on it today in social media. What is your intent? But this particular post that I'm thinking about, which was a game changer for me, is what is your intent before you pick up the phone? Don't just pick up the phone and bleh all over somebody, but actually have a purpose for calling them and have that in your mind before you reach out. Otherwise, you're wasting their time and your time.
that's it. And that what thank you, Allie. That actually has a lot to do with how you're doing. How are we doing? Like check yourself. How are you doing today? Like check in with yourself. In a book that I just read, was it Arnold Schwarzenegger's book Be Useful, right? The seven tools to be useful. He says, you need to check in with yourself often throughout the day, throughout the week, and say, how am I doing? Because if you're not doing well, how is that phone call going to be? Ali, I'm going to reach out to you and be like, hey, Ali, it's just Tristan. I'm just touching base with you. Hope everything's well. Where's the freaking value in that shit? Doesn't exist because I really didn't know why I was calling you except to hopefully get business magically from you, Allie. Right? There's no like, wait, I actually thought about what I'm going to send you by text once we're done. So the conversation would sound like, hey, Allie, this is Tristan. Listen, this weekend I had a problem with my toilet. I tried, my brother-in-law tried to fix it. It didn't work. Actually, April knows it's a true story. The toilet broke in my house downstairs. My brother-in-law tried to fix it. We finally called a plumber, and I forget how good this guy is, but he fixed it quickly. He said it was just a small piece. So, Allie, if you need somebody, not only do I have an amazing plumber, I have a list of service providers that have helped me and my clients. So I can send that over to you if you want. And that's the call, right? A lot more intent. Now it's relatable. Now it's not like, hey, I'm just touching base with you. Like, yeah, call me if you ever want to buy or sell. Thanks. Which sounds pretty bad. So anyway, that's Ali. Thank you so much. I put up the podcast. Jump in. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, I do it daily, 2 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it goes a little over 5 minutes, but they're still good. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Feel free to unmute yourself and jump on in.
Can you have that perfect daily schedule for realtors that you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me grab that.
Thank you so much. It was super amazing, so useful. I just keep writing and writing, like 8 pages. Thank you.
Yes,
You
it really has been, Tristan. Unbelievable. Very good. In fact, while I was listening, I ordered your book on Amazon.
Yes.
The social media book. The social media.
that one. Yes.
Yes, I did. I can't wait for it to come.
Oh, thanks, Barbara. Appreciate it. A lot of what I was talking about on social is broken down there. What I was teaching Facebook and Instagram at the time is in there as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Let
And
me.
a lot of things you touched on are outlined in more detail in your book. And something that resonated for me, a lot of what you're talking about in this prospecting book, it's really prospecting within yourself and getting your habits and your mindset, because if your mindset isn't great and then you're reaching out to folks, what are you sending to them? What is that interchange going to be? So it's a lot about that preparation at night, that preparation in the morning, that a body in action sort of stays in action, and I think a mind in action stays in action as well. So I felt like, well, it's titled prospecting, so much of it is also mindset and attitude. And that's going to come through wherever you're at, is what you're going to be putting all over the people you interact with all day.
Very true. Very true. Thank you, Allie. And Julia, I know I have it here somewhere. What I'll do is I'll find it and I'll send it over to April and Allie by text. And then they can send it to you by email or text it to, they'll probably send it out to everyone there. So thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And those links you shared, I will put in the email that I send out to everybody who registered.
Thanks.
So thank you so much, Tristan, for jumping in and sharing your insights. I think it was an extremely valuable Marketing Monday and appreciate it. I also want to mention to everybody out there, I have, for the first time, going live with my Marketing Monday on Monday the 5th. We have a very valuable seminar coming up in downtown Carlsbad in the Village. And this one will be about the future of real estate agent compensation. And I have Saul Klein and Karen Van Ness as our guest speakers, and breakfast is provided. And this is a free webinar. So I'll put a link in that email so that you can register for that as well if you'd like to come.
I will.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and make it a fabulous week.
Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
for everything, Allie and Tristan. Appreciate everybody's time. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.